Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Maria Gold-Savage podcast. I'm your host, Maria Gold-Savage, and today we have a special guest, Donna Barker. So, welcome, Donna.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me.
I am super excited. Donna is here. You may remember her. She's already been on the podcast before. And today I invited her back. But before I tell you why I invited her back, let me tell you a little bit about Donna. So, Donna Barker is an Arthur Findlay College tutor, course organizer, and now demonstrates her mediumship and teaches all around the UK and overseas. She is passionate about sharing knowledge and achieves this by supporting others on their spiritual journey, helping them to unfold their natural mediumistic abilities hand in hand with the spirit world. Donna encourages students to find confidence in their own awareness and to build trust not only with the spirit world, but in themselves too. So they are empowered to fulfill their spiritual potential and discover the limitless, unfeathered aspect of their soul. She recognizes that when students work with tutors, they are trusting them with their most precious gift, their mediumship. And as such, she understands the importance of that and never takes it for granted, which is so important for us as students because we are terrified when we're on this journey. So, Donna, naturally, the unfolding of the naturalness of mediumship is at the center of Donna's philosophy, while acknowledging that a sense of discipline and devotion is paramount to enhance student development, fostering a sense of respect for the intelligence of the spirit world along with continually valuing their own progressive spiritual growth, ensuring students fully appreciate the journey. As well as being an AFC tutor, Donna spent 2 years serving on the SNU's Education Exponents Committee and tutors on the SNU's education courses up to the diploma level. SNU Awards, Diploma in Demonstrating, Diploma in Teaching SNU, Certificates Demonstrating Speaking Teaching 2020, West London Exponent Prize for Outstanding Spiritual Development. So, welcome, Donna.
Thank you.
Super excited you're here. So, the reason I invited Donna back today is a lot of my students have been asking me about working in spiritual churches and they want to do the inspirational speaking and they want to take that next step, but they're kind of scared and they don't really know step one, how to start. So, yes, if you could take the lead and kind of break it down for us so people don't feel so intimidated about participating in spiritual churches.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it is a real honor to be invited by a church to stand on their platform in front of the church's congregation. So if you've been invited by a church, that is a lovely thing. They recognize something within you that they think that you have to share with their congregation. So that's very special. But many of us that are developing our mediumship are very comfortable when it comes to giving messages and giving communications from the spirit world. But there are so many more elements to a church service than, let's say, just, in inverted commas, giving the communications. And churches vary from church to church on how they deliver their services. So there may be members of the church that take on specific roles. But if I talk about how we approach our church services here in the UK and how our exponents are trained, then that might give somebody more of an all over picture rather than, but obviously I won't know how the church will work that you may be invited to. And so if we think about the elements of a church service is always opened in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something as exponents we have to get used to delivering an opening prayer. But actually prayer should be something that is part of our own practice as well, as mediums, as spiritual people, having that connection with the divine. And
Yeah.
that's not about providing God with a shopping list. Please, can I have a new car next year? Or please, can I go on holiday to the Caribbean? Or please, can I pass this exam? It's not about what we want for ourselves. It's recognizing that divinity within us and reconnecting with that eternal aspect. And when we are doing an opening prayer as part of a church or spiritual service, we are helping the congregation to reconnect with that divine aspect of themselves. Because everybody will be going around their daily physical lives, getting on with their to-do list. I don't know about you, but mine's as long. It never gets any shorter, my list. I'd cross things off of it, and then there's always something to go on.
Yeah.
And we spend so much time absorbed in our physical life, and we forget, even sometimes as spiritual people, we sometimes forget that we are that aspect of the divine spirit, especially our congregations that come to our churches. So when we start with an opening prayer, we are reminding them that they are divine. We're taking their attention away from anything that's happening in their everyday lives and redirecting it to that God force, that great power, the divine spirit, whatever you want to call it, wherever you live in the world. And reminding them of who they truly are. And that's really, really important.
I will add this, Donna. So I did a church service and
Yeah.
I was supposed to do the inspirational speaking and the mediumship. And I need to prepare, plan. I don't like things that are left field. And
Sure.
then all of a sudden it was, Maria, can you do the opening prayer? I was like, during the headlights, I was so terrified. I was like, what's that? What's that? Because when you're in service, you hear it. But when
Mhm.
you have to go do, all of a sudden you become so aware of like, how does it even start? What are the
Yeah.
words? What do I say? What can I
Yeah.
say? What can't I say? Like I
Yeah.
had a whole little moment of panic attack. And I remember the girl just looking at me going, you're okay. You got this. Just breathe, Maria. I was like, okay, deep breath.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was terrifying for the
Yeah.
first time.
Sure. I can imagine that. But also where we trained the students in the Spiritualist National Union, we train initially to prepare your prayers.
Mm,
Okay. Not so that you learn them off by heart and repeat parrot fashion the same prayer every time, but that you have some sort of framework so you know you're going to include reference to God, the divine spirit. You know that you're going to take people's attentions from their everyday life to that divinity within. And you know that if it's a service where mediumship is going to take place, that you're going to invite the power of the Great Spirit to join you in this service, but also the loved ones and the people that want to come and share in the service from the spirit world. So we're setting the scene, painting the picture, and you can
yeah.
practice this at home, just writing prayers and being familiar. Have I included this? Have I included that? And then put them on one side. When you know what it is that you're aiming for, you can put them
Yeah.
on side, and then it's much more easy to be spontaneous in the moment if you happen to be put on the spot.
Yeah. It was so terrifying. I did it. I did it. I took a deep breath and I was like, come on, spirit, we got this.
Yes,
And then
absolutely.
it went smoothly, it went fine. But I did have that deer in the headlights. I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah,
Wait, I didn't plan for this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's really interesting because, we forget that speaking in services is mediumship, because
Yeah.
medium is just another word for being in the middle. And we
Yeah.
are in the middle between the people with the physical bodies and the people without physical bodies. So we
Yeah.
are the person in the middle. And back in the day, especially in this country, if there was a church service, there would be somebody that did all of the speaking, and somebody that did the demonstration of the mediumship. There would be two mediums on platforms. There would be the speaking medium and the demonstrating medium. And then
Yeah.
gradually over time, we have, as mediums, we have become everything. We have become the speaker and the demonstrator.
Yeah.
And so we forget really that we are still doing mediumship when we're speaking. We are
Mm.
still being moved and inspired by the spirit world with our prayers. The spirit world are still working with us, blending with us to open the service. And we're starting to change the atmosphere in the room the minute we start speaking in preparation for that demonstration of mediumship. So if I talk about, obviously, if we're going to open in prayer, we're going to close in prayer as well. And again, this is just about giving thanks for everything that's taken place in the service, showing gratitude to God for allowing us to feel that presence and allowing us to feel reconnected once more to the whole, as it were,
Yeah.
and thanking our communicators for drawing close to us, and thanking for any upliftment and healing that we've received during the service. But we always recommend that we keep the closing prayer a little bit shorter than the opening prayer, because at this time of a service, and I know it may sound a bit humorous, but people are starting to look at their watch, they've got trains to catch, they've got children to get back home to, and we don't want to keep them any longer than we have to, but we still want to close our service with this wonderful sense of gratitude for everything that we have received. So we must remember that opening and closing prayers are all part of mediumship, as well
Yeah.
as demonstrating the communications. And if we can relax and take a breath, maybe give the prayers some thought beforehand, and then in the moment, allow yourself to be moved by that power and just share whatever is in your heart, and you won't go wrong.
I like that. I had the deer in the headlight moment again when it was like, hey, Maria, you know what? I just get it whispered, you're just going to do the closing prayer. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, I got this. But again, I think I come across very confident, but secretly I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
yeah,
But I did
yeah.
it. I did it. But I had that moment of what does that look like? I think when you go and you sit in the church, the spiritual church, and you hear the service, it's so much more different when you go up because now all of a sudden
Oh,
you're more
yeah.
aware of your words.
Yes, yeah. All eyes are on you now.
Yes. Whereas
You're the
before,
expert.
yes, before you're just sitting in the back, no one
Yeah,
notices
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. And also you're enjoying the feeling of the energy, the changing, the building of the power. You're enjoying being moved by the words of the prayer. And you don't ever consider that one day it might be you actually on the platform delivering those prayers.
Never, you know what? When I started working for the spiritual churches as a medium, I never thought about the opening prayers or the closing prayers. Didn't even cross my mind because I was like, ooh, platform. And that's terrifying in itself, but
Yeah,
also so rewarding, right? When you're first
sure.
starting. And then I thought about the inspirational speaking, but I
Mm.
never gave much thought to the beginning prayer or the ending prayer until I was asked to do it. And I was like, oh, wait, there's actually a lot more to this than I thought, than I ever
Yes.
thought before.
Yes, absolutely. So, and obviously, we can also have prayers for special occasions as well. If the service is taking place on a day that has special significance, sort of like Mother's Day or Father's Day, or even some sort of Memorial Day, then you would
Yeah,
adapt your prayer to make reference to that. Or if there's been something like a tragedy has happened worldwide, you would
yeah,
also reference that, but not get involved in anything political,
yeah,
because there may be people in the congregation that have different political opinions to you.
yeah,
And so we don't want to offend or upset anybody. So, but obviously recognizing tragedies, volcanoes, earthquakes, natural disasters, things like that, would only make sense in the spiritualist church environment. So we also learn to adapt our prayers based on what's going on in the world, and also if we are celebrating a particular reason for the service taking place as well. So
So
there's quite
for
a lot to think about.
there is. So for a prayer, a beginning prayer,
Yeah.
is there a recommended time? Like, is it a 5-minute prayer, a 20-minute prayer? Is there?
Interesting you should say that, because there isn't a recommended time,
Okay.
but prayers can be too short.
Mm,
So it's really the feeling that we're looking for you creating an energy and atmosphere in the room that you're
yeah.
in. And it's creating that feeling within people that's more important than the time.
Yeah.
However, it's very funny you should say about time, because in one of the churches in England that I serve, they have a little room next to the platform where the medium goes and sits and prepares before the service. And there
Yeah.
is a notice on the wall saying, mediums, please keep the opening prayer less than 5 minutes. And I remember reading that for the first time and thinking, I don't know if I could do a prayer. I'm sure I can now. But at the time I was
Yes.
like, 5 minutes? What am I going to talk about for 5 minutes? But obviously they'd had some mediums that had waxed lyrical and gone on above the 5 minutes. And then it's starting to become an address, really. And it's not
Yeah.
really the opening prayer, setting the scene for what is
Yeah.
about to take place. So yeah, there is no official time, but it's more about the feeling.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like the opening prayer is actually very important to set
It
the
is.
tone for the
It
whole service.
it is. Absolutely. It is.
But no
Yeah.
pressure, guys. If
Yeah.
that's something
No
you want to
pressure.
do,
But
go
wouldn't
for
you
it.
rather know than not know?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's super important. So then the address, because that's also has a time, right? The inspirational speaking.
Well, yes, and that varies from place to place. So there is something in some churches that goes in between the prayer and the address, and that's a reading.
Oh,
So
yes, yes.
this would be something that would be chosen, that you would choose. Well, sometimes you choose it as the medium. They invite you
Yeah.
to bring a reading with you. And sometimes they will invite a member of the congregation or a member of the church committee to choose something appropriate as a reading, which should last no longer than 5 minutes. And I
Yeah.
have been to church services where a member of the congregation has read something they've written,
Yeah.
or a poem that resonated with them, or they've taken some philosophy from one of our spiritualist books and shared that. And so often as the medium, you don't know, usually you don't know, you have no idea until that person stands up and speaks what they're going to be talking about. But oftentimes what you will find is that it links in beautifully with the theme of your address,
Oh,
because the
wow.
spirit world know exactly what they're inspiring you with, and they've already inspired the person with their reading. And I've been to so many church services as a demonstrator to deliver my address, and yet the reading has been so significant to what I was about to say, and it's just magic when that
Yeah.
happens. So as the medium, you can choose a reading that might tie in with the theme of your address, or you may be surprised when somebody in the church is chosen to offer something and it resonates exactly with what you were going to say, because the spirit world already knew.
That is interesting. I am curious because you do services for spiritual churches in the UK, and
Sure.
you've been here to Canada in
Yes.
Burlington, SSB. Is there a difference in the way the services work, or are they exactly the same? Like, does the
There's
medium do more stuff in the UK?
the medium mostly does the prayers, the address, the demonstration. So that's pretty much everything. Whereas when
Yeah.
I've been to SSB, say, for example, The service is shared between. So the medium, so I've done the prayer, I suppose I've done the prayer, the address, and the mediumship, but there's other elements involved in the service as well, which I wouldn't necessarily be involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find it is different country to country?
It can be. It can be different from church to church. It's different from
Oh, wow.
church to church here in the UK. Sometimes before the opening prayer, there will be a healing moment where healing
Mm.
prayers are offered and names are entered into a healing book, and we will all send healing thoughts to the names in the healing book. That will form part of a church service as well. But that again, that varies from church to church. Some churches hold separate healing services. So they
Yeah.
don't do the healing aspect in the divine service, as it were. They keep that for a separate service. So you don't ever know until you get to the church and the person that's going to be chairing you on the platform, the chairperson, runs through the order of service with you. And then you
Yeah.
will know exactly what it is you're going to be doing. So you don't often know, unless you speak to them beforehand and say, would you like me to choose a reading?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But other than that, you don't really have that much involvement in the planning of the service, as it were.
Yeah.
But oftentimes as well, you might be invited to choose the music, the hymns.
Mm.
There's some churches present you with a hymn book or a book of music and say, here you are, we're having 3 songs tonight. You can choose the ones that you like. And that's lovely as well.
Yeah.
Or they invite you to choose a piece of music before your demonstration, so that while you're preparing, you've got something that suits your taste. I always ask for something uplifting so I can build that power and get ready to communicate. But I have learnt my lesson that some people's idea of uplifting isn't my idea of uplifting. So if they can give me the book and I can choose something myself, I do much prefer that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so interesting.
Yes.
That
But
makes it for fun church services for sure.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's a very serious subject, but we also we're uplifting people in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, if I can choose my music, I will.
I love the music. I find it always so much fun.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. It is
everybody
where you
starts to
are.
sing.
Yeah, it is where
Yes.
you are. It can be, we have some churches that are very religious and stick to traditional hymns. Okay.
Okay.
And some have moved into more modern music, where they've taken more modern spiritual songs, and both are lovely. Both are lovely. In some of the churches over here, they actually have live music. I know you have in Burlington, you have TC with
Yes.
her beautiful guitar, but we also have in some of our churches organists who play the organ and accompany the congregations with organ music, and that's lovely as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is
it is. It's
amazing.
really lovely, quite traditional, but
Yeah.
I love that as well.
I think that's beautiful. So then we've done the prayer.
Yeah,
We've done
we
the
might have done a reading. Yeah,
we've done a reading, and
yeah,
now we're going to the inspirational speaking,
the inspirational speaking, which we call the
the
address.
address.
Okay, the address.
Yes.
And this is where we are starting to build the power as well for the communication aspect of the service, but also we are offering people an insight into what spiritualism and what spiritualist philosophy is all about,
Mm.
because our aim is that everybody leaves that church with a message. And
Yeah.
that message won't be from one of their loved ones necessarily, because we won't have time to get round the whole congregation, unfortunately, in the length of time that we have dedicated to a service. So, but if there's something from the philosophy that somebody can take away with them,
Yeah.
then that is just as valuable as hearing from one of their loved ones. So when we are thinking about our addresses, we want to educate our congregations what we're all about, what is spiritualism about, and
Yeah.
give them something to inspire them, an upliftment. So when they leave that place of worship, they step outside with ideas that help them with their everyday life. because
Yeah.
everyday life has a lot of twists and turns and a lot of ups and downs. And this is what our spiritualist philosophy is, like a framework for life. We spiritualists, we are not dogmatic. We don't have a big book of what you should and what you shouldn't do. It's not like that at all, because we recognize that we've all been born with free will and we can make our own choices. But we share spiritualist philosophy, which has many, many, many layers to it. And the longer you study it, the richer it becomes.
Yeah.
And we are hopefully inspiring people and giving them some insight into maybe why things may be happening for them in life, or maybe some strength to stay on track and keep putting one foot in front of the other, that their life does have purpose and meaning, and spiritualist philosophy can help with all of that. So if people aren't getting a message from a loved one in a service, they are taking something from our spiritualist philosophy to face the week ahead before they come back to the church for more of the same the following week.
Yeah.
And sorry, Maria.
Oh, I was just going to say, I
Yeah.
find that part of the service so empowering
Yes.
because it's so
Yeah.
healing. And you're like, oh, they're talking to me.
Yes,
I know what
exactly.
happened to me this week.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the sort of feeling that we would like our congregation to experience, that we
Yeah.
are touching souls
Yeah.
with the words from the souls in the spirit world, not only the evidential messages, but that philosophy as well. And spiritualist philosophy is based on what we've called the seven principles, and they're often read out at the beginning of a church service, and you sometimes see them hanging on the walls in
Yes.
inside churches. And it's only really by studying them, reading about them, that you can start to be able to have enough knowledge about them, I would say, in order to be able to share with other people. So when we talk about inspired speaking for the address, we are not suggesting that every single word of it comes from the spirit world. We are suggesting in that live moment that we're standing on platform, we are encouraging all of our exponents to do their own research and study and gain knowledge about the principles and about spiritualist philosophy. So they've got this grounding, this foundation. And this grows and gets deeper and stronger the further along your spiritual pathway that you will go. Because these principles came from the spirit world through the mediumship of one of our pioneers, Emma Hardinge Britton. And it's
Right.
through her mediumship that these seven simple statements, they appear simple on the surface. These seven
Yes.
simple statements were delivered, but actually there is so much more meaning
Yeah.
behind them the longer we take to look at them.
That is so true. So for those, because I always get the question of how do I prepare for an address?
Sure.
How do people prepare for that? Because I've heard different variations. Oh, you get on the platform and spirit's just gonna jump in and all is good. And I'm like,
Oh,
I don't know about that.
yes. So what I would, if you know that you've got an address to deliver,
Yes.
okay, I would start thinking about what message do you want to share with your congregation? What
Mm,
is, if you could sum it up in a sentence, what would it be? Okay, so you just place that thought in your mind and you're keeping an open mind, and then you go around your everyday life. Okay, and we have the type of inspiration that comes from just doing everyday life. You may read something in a book, you may hear something on TV or in a film or somebody's conversation, or even when you're scrolling on social media, something
yeah.
will stand out to you and you think, oh, that's interesting. That could relate to an aspect of those 7 principles, and I could make that all tie in for people.
Yeah.
And then they would have a greater understanding of applying this philosophy in everyday life. So we allow ourselves to be inspired by something that's taken place in everyday life. It's as simple as that. Something will stand out to you, an idea will come. And these ideas often come when you're least expecting it. So if you keep a little notebook with you or the notes app in your phone, and when you get these ideas, just jot them down and you start to build up like a little compilation of ideas ready for next church service. When you've got something to deliver, I've already got something in mind I would like to talk about. So we have what we call a theme. This is the theme that I want to talk about. And it might be struggling with change. Say, for example, say you've heard of somebody that's getting up senior in years and they've got to leave their home and maybe move into a nursing home or a care home or something like that. And it's going to be a big upheaval for them to do that. So this is what you think, well, this is what I'd like to talk about today. How does that relate to spiritualist philosophy? And then you would be inspired to choose one of the principles that stood out to you the most when you were thinking about your theme. So you might think, well, it could be the continuous existence of the human soul, because even though this person is moving from their traditional family home, they're going to move into this care home, but they are still going to continue to exist after they've passed. And you might want to talk about the seasons of life, but actually that's only a physical perspective, and that their life is eternal. And that would fit in very nicely with that principle, but you've been inspired because you've heard somebody's moving into a care home and might be struggling with that idea. Or you may have felt that somebody else is struggling with something to do with it could be anything. You can choose a multitude of topics. There was somebody that said to me once, when I was training, they just picked whatever was in front of them, and they had a lipstick. She had a lipstick, and she said, how would you make an address about that lipstick?
Oh no.
And I was like, okay. And I thought, well, us ladies know that sometimes when you get used to certain types of makeup or cosmetics, they then get discontinued.
Yes.
Right. And then you want that color lipstick, but you can't find that color lipstick anywhere anymore. And you have to progress to the next color lipstick.
Yes.
So it's futile resisting. What am I resisting in my life? Am I resisting change, or am I open to eternal progress? And eternal progress is open to every human soul, regardless of what lipstick I wear, regardless if I have to change it. Am I open to change? Am I open to growth? So from a silly example like a lipstick to a big topic like moving into a care home or somebody needing nursing care, we're reminded of our ministry of angels that bring us that healing. We can take things that happen in everyday life and apply one of our principles to them and show our congregations how they can draw strength from our philosophy. And it will be there supporting them and acting for them as a framework in life. And then they leave hopefully with that spark of upliftment that they've taken a message from this service, maybe if they didn't even hear from one of our communicators. So we can be inspired by anything and everything while we are thinking about preparing our address. And then I train some of the platform accreditation scheme students for the Spiritualist National Union, and I encourage them to write an address. Write it down, word for word. Choose your theme, choose which principle. Don't just mention a principle as lip service, because you know when you're being assessed, everyone's going to be waiting to hear which principle it relates to. You have to expand on that principle and show your knowledge of that as well. But then leave it on one side. Let it sink in.
Yeah.
Make certain what I call sort of like reference points. So in my introduction, I'm going to talk about my theme. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to talk about because this is the introduction. There's not going to be any surprises. This is what I'm going to talk to you about today. And in the body of that address, this is what I'm going to share with you. And you might have three main points that you want to get across to your congregation. Then at the end, there'll be a conclusion. And
Yeah.
it's important that you have that framework because now you don't need what you've written down. I know what my introduction is going to be about because I know I've chosen my theme and the principle, and I know enough about my principle that I can talk about it without the writing. And now these are my three main points. So if I get lost in the middle of my address, I know what my three main points are that I've always wanted to talk about. And then my conclusion at the end, I'm just summing it up. I'm bringing everything together and reminding everybody essentially of what I've just told them.
Yeah.
And in some churches, if you're on the award scheme, the platform accreditation, you have 10 minutes to do that.
Yes.
So we're looking for a 10-minute address. And some churches that you go to will say to you, oh, we've allowed 10 minutes, we've allowed 15 minutes. If they've allowed 15 minutes, the important thing is you think, oh my God, I've only got 10 minutes of content. I've been practicing, I've been rehearsing at home. I know I've only got 3 points and but I've now got 15 minutes to fill. The thing is not to panic. Trust yourself that your theme, okay, and the principle that you've chosen is rich enough for you to expand and go deeper. And also that you're going to get other ideas from the spirit world in the
Yeah.
moment you're going to be inspired in the
Wow.
moment. And you may find that you take that in a completely different direction with ideas you hadn't thought about before.
Yeah.
The trick is to have, not, it's not a trick, the skill set is to have a framework to know
Yeah.
what you're intending to talk about, but be relaxed and open enough to allow space for the spirit world to inspire you in the moment. That's why we don't want everything written down. That's why we
Yeah.
don't want it learnt off by heart, because then you're using your head and not letting that communication aspect to take place. But preparation is still important. So you've chosen your theme, you know what principle you're going to talk about, you've read about it, you've prepared, and now we're leaving space for inspiration in the moment as well.
Oh, wow. I had to do an address in a church, a spiritual church that had the most giant clock I've ever seen in my life.
You
And
were
then I was
lucky. I'm
like,
normally squinting at the back.
it's gigantic. And then I was told, you have 20 minutes.
Oh,
And I practiced the clock became my focal point because then I was like
yes,
developing anxiety over the 20 minutes and the clock.
yes,
And then I'm like 14 minutes, 15 minutes. And then
yes,
I'm like, I'm done at 15 minutes. And then I thought to myself, I'm done. I'm okay. I think the speech that I gave was super inspirational.
yeah,
But there was that moment where I was like, oh, I should have gone the 15 minutes, but I had nothing to say.
yeah,
And then I think when I sat down, I kind of beat myself up for a minute or two.
yeah,
And then I'm like, I'm gonna let it go. I can't look at the
yeah,
clock. I
yeah.
cannot look at a giant clock anymore.
No,
I got so much anxiety from this clock. But what I found powerful at the end, because there's always that minute, I don't know if all mediums do or if it's just me, where we're like, oh, I didn't meet, like you want to make the churches proud. And you're like, I know they said 20 minutes, but I only hit 14. But then at the end, people came up to me and they're like, because people were laughing. I do
yeah,
funny ones because it was about my experience, but it was relatable about the fear of becoming a medium. It's like,
yeah,
ah. So I shared that. But then I had people come up to me at the end and they wanted to develop their mediumship. And they're like, I was scared just like you. I had those scary experiences. And because I heard you, I now have the courage to join a
Sure.
mediumship development circle. And then that
Sure.
calmed my nerves down. I was like, okay, good. I know I
Yes.
didn't hit the 20 minutes, but
Yes.
it's almost like you need that. I don't know, or I need that from the spirit world to be like, calm down.
Exactly.
So
And don't
you're
forget,
okay.
they can't see the clock, the congregation, and
Yeah.
they don't know that you've been told 20
That,
minutes.
that there's a giant clock looking
Yeah.
at
They're
me.
just listening and enjoying what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they enjoyed the experience. They don't can't see the clock. It's only you that can see that and gets yourself worked up about that.
It's true. I think
Yeah.
congregations should have teeny weeny little clocks in the back. So us as working mediums don't get stressed out. Look at these giant clocks. But I also understand that some churches, everything's done like that's 5 minutes, that's 10 minutes, that's 15 minutes, that's 20 minutes, and being very respectful of
Sure,
that.
sure.
Yes.
The difficult thing, Maria, is when you've got two clocks and they're both at different times.
Oh no.
I've been on the platform before where there's a clock at the back of the church with one time and one to the side of me saying a completely different time, like 3 minutes, 4 minutes difference. And you're like, wait, you just got to pick one and work to that one. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is so funny. So before we go, Donna, are there any words of wisdom, advice you would give to aspiring mediums that want to take the next step and be of service to the spiritual churches around the world?
I would say it's such a great opportunity to share spiritual philosophy, to share upliftment from the platform, whether that's through demonstrating, whether that's speaking. And I want you to trust the spirit world that they think that you're ready because this opportunity has come along. You've been
Yeah.
invited or you've been inspired to let somebody at the church know, listen, I'd really like to move on to the platform. Are there any opportunities to serve? And if you've been prompted with these ideas or an invitation has come your way, accept it because you will never feel ready. You will
Hmm.
always feel not good enough. But if the spirit world thinks you're ready, then let's trust the spirit world because they know us better than we know ourselves. So put faith and trust in them that you can do it, that you're going to embrace this opportunity, and that you have got something to say which is going to touch the congregation's hearts, and they're going to leave uplifted and inspired and have a different perspective on philosophy because of something that you've shared. That they
Yeah.
may even, as you said, Maria, start to have confidence to look into their own spiritual development. You might light that spark of inquiry within them, and they
Yeah.
may then start on their own journey to either be a speaker or maybe one day be a medium as well. And what a great opportunity that is to touch people's souls. So I would say have more faith and trust in yourself and what you can do. Trust if an opportunity comes, it's come for a reason. Embrace it, go with it, and
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Oh, those are great words to live by and very inspirational. And for those that are listening, what do you have coming up, Donna?
Well, actually, I am doing a Zoom workshop for the Spiritualist Society of Burlington.
Mhm.
That's in a couple of Saturdays. That's just a half-day workshop about embracing your mediumship, embracing the medium within.
Yeah.
And then the weekend after that, I'm actually doing a workshop about what we've been talking about today, about preparing prayers, preparing an address, inspirational speaking. Again, that's on Zoom. So if anybody's interested, they can find that on my website.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I will have all of Donna's information so you guys can just click on her website and go to it and sign up. I am so grateful for this opportunity. I hope those that are listening today, if that was something you were interested in doing, that this podcast episode gives you the courage to move forward, and feel free to reach out to Donna with any
Yeah.
questions. And I think it's fantastic that you are offering that course because there is a need. I
Yeah.
really believe there's a need and people are just like, where do I go? Where do I go? So I'm so happy that I can share that with
Oh,
all of our listeners. And if that's something you guys really want to do, go over and sign up on Donna's website. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening today. Okay, goodbye, everybody.